Hi everyone. I hope you're all okay and have enjoyed the break that we've just had, and you're ready to get back to some learning. So, welcome to our brand new um, block of lessons called our learning shows. So, it's completely different. Um, it is a pre-record, so I'm recording this in the evening, but you're going to have it played live every Friday if you want to have the opportunity to watch it every Friday at 11 o'clock. That's when it's going to be played live for you. So I've had to get used to a whole new way of doing this. I usually use something called Flipchart. This is now on Canva. So it's a new presentation. And how it differs from our regular live lessons is that during these lessons, you will have a workbook, so an interactive workbook that will accompany you throughout these lessons, and you will have activities to complete at different points of the lesson. After I've done a little bit of teaching with you, you will then apply your learning in these different activities. So I hope you enjoy it. It's been amazing for me to get to use these new programs like Canva and another program called Genially. And I hope you enjoy the presentation. I hope you enjoy the learning show, and I hope you really enjoy the activities that you get to do and showcase. So on the final week, week 6, it will be a live lesson where I'll pop on and we can have a chat about what we've learned. You can showcase your learning, show me anything that you'd like to show me, ask any questions. You might tell me about some other AQA unit awards that you are desperate to do, so we can catch up on that final week. So I'm really looking forward to this block of lessons. So let's get started. So this block of lessons is history, and it's called Humans Before History. And we're going to be learning about the Stone Age to the Iron Age, and the age that comes in between the Stone and the Iron Age is the Bronze Age. Now, you might think, first of all, I wonder why they were called the Stone Age, the Bronze Age, and the Iron Age. Have a think about why they might be called. Why did they get those names? Um, and those periods of time in history actually are called prehistoric, or they are periods of prehistory. Now, that's strange. Prehistory, before history, because the prefix pre means before, doesn't it? Before history. So, what do we mean by that? So, in today's lesson, we are going to learn what is prehistory and think about its time scale. We're going to think about and learn who the earliest humans were. And we're going to learn about key facts about the Paleolithic period. Now, you're going to learn about lots of facts about the Paleolithic period, and you're going to have the opportunity to showcase um, all of that learning that you have learned about the Paleolithic period of the Stone Age, which is the longest, the largest period of the Stone Age, because we split the Stone Age up into 3 different periods that we'll learn about later. Okay, so let's think about first then, what is prehistory? Did you think that it's defined by that is the time before any written records? There was no written historical records from this time. Did you know that it spans over huge periods of time, millions of years of human history, okay, before there were any written records at all? So, if there were no written records, no diaries, no newspapers, nothing from that time. People weren't writing at that time. How do we learn about it then? How do we know? So we learn about prehistory through archaeologists, okay, through archaeology, which is the study of the past through objects that have been left behind from that time period. Now, have a think about what kind of things could be left behind from the Stone Age, from the Bronze Age, from the Iron Age. Do you know the name of objects that are left behind? Do you know the historical name for those? It begins with A. So archaeologists find artifacts that have been left behind from different humans from different time periods. And they study those artifacts that have been left behind to find out about their daily lives, what they did, what animals they hunted, what they ate. Okay, so they would look at fossils, they would look at human remains, they would look at pottery that's been left behind. They would also look at ruins such as Stonehenge, the caves of Cresswell Crags, for example. And when I'm doing this, you might want to be making some notes. Okay, so when I'm just talking to you, when I'm teaching you, you might have to just make a few notes that will help you when you come to doing some of your activities. So when did prehistory begin then? So thinking about the time scale of prehistory. So prehistory began around 3.3 to 3.4 million years ago. Earth was very different then, with much more volcanic activity. It was also during the Paleolithic period, which is a huge expanse of time, they had the last ice age. Okay, so it was extremely cold. So early humans shared the planet with giant animals such as woolly mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, and saber-toothed cats. So thinking about how we know about this period of time, how we know about prehistory, early humans who lived in caves, who sheltered in caves, created amazing, wonderful, astonishing cave paintings and engravings. And they would depict, they would show us, they would show archaeologists and historians what they did during their lives, during their daily routine. They would depict animals that they hunted, hunting scenes, and possibly even rituals, religious rituals. Cave art offers us clues about their beliefs, their culture, and their hunting techniques. Okay, and you might have seen some of them before. There's a really famous one that you might have seen where lots and lots of hands, so they would put their handprints on the walls of the caves where they lived, kind of like people graffitiing, the modern day tagging yourself somewhere. Okay, like social media, they put their handprint on the cave walls where they lived to show that they'd inhabited that cave. Okay, so now's the time for you to access your workbook then. So what you're going to do, you can either do this through a different device. So it is a little bit, it can be a little bit glitchy on a mobile phone, but it does work. Okay, but what happened on mine a couple of times, skip back to the beginning. So you just need to be able to press the arrow to the right activity. So scan this QR code now on a tablet or a phone or just a different device to access your electronic workbook. Or we found that the easiest way to do it is the moderator of this class is now going to pop the link, okay, that you can just click on and it will take you directly to your workbook. So you can either scan this QR code if you want to use a different device, if you're wanting to access your workbook via your computer or the device that you're on at the moment, then click on the link that is being shared in the chat box now by the moderator. Okay. Okay, I'm going to leave the QR code on at any time that you need to access your workbook. There will be a QR code on this side of the presentation. So when you need to get to activity 2, activity 3, the QR code will be there again, just in case you've come off it. Okay, but it should stay open in another tab on your device. Okay. So activity 1 is called a closed procedure. So what I want you to do now is that what we've just talked about, we're going to apply that into this closed procedure. So you've got a sentence and you've got a missing word. Okay. Now all of yours will have the words in a jumbled up order. Everybody's will be different, but obviously there's one correct answer. Okay, so you decide, and all you need to do is drag them into the correct boxes. So on your workbook, you will click on it and it will allow you to move it into the box. Okay, so prehistory is the time before something records. It covers something of years of human what? We learn about prehistory through something, which is the study of the past through objects left behind. So we could have added another box there, couldn't we? Which are called artifacts, historical artifacts. Prehistory began around how many million years ago? and early humans shared the planet with giant something such as mammoths and saber-toothed cats. So can you pop in the correct word into the box where I've omitted or missed out a word? And that's to show your understanding of what we mean by prehistory. Time before any recorded history, any written records. Just gave you one there, didn't I? Okay. So as I mentioned, there are three periods of the Stone Age. You might already know some of them. And the one that we're focusing on today is the largest part of the Stone Age, the Paleolithic period. Okay. So onto your workbook. So the QR code's there again if you need it. Okay. Is activity two. So we're thinking about the Paleolithic period of the Stone Age. And this, if it were a live lesson, we would be doing this orally, would be talking through it. I want you to talk to, maybe you have a sibling that's doing this with you, maybe you have a parent with you, a brother or sister, and your uncle, anybody that's in your household. Have a little chat with them about, or have a chat to yourself if you like. I could chat to my dog who's next to me. What do these pictures suggest to us, or what do these images suggest to us about the Paleolithic era of the Stone Age? Okay. And there's a box on your workbook. So if you click the arrow and go to activity two, you have a box in which you can type anything that you think it tells us about the Paleolithic period. So this picture here of a cave lady, cave woman, okay, Stone Age lady gathering plants and berries. So that suggests that women would go out and gather fruit, gather berries to be eaten, gather plants. Maybe the plants would be used for sewing, for making clothes. Plants to eat. What does this picture here suggest? That the men, oh, we can see here, look, a tool. What do you think the tool would be made from during the Stone Age? A spear and a woolly mammoth, a huge woolly mammoth, doesn't it? Mammoth means massive, doesn't it? The word mammoth is a synonym for massive or huge. What's this showing us here? What do you think this um, Stone Age person, this caveman's doing? And remember, if it does for some reason log you off of the workbook, the QR code will be on any of the pages where you're going to do an activity, so you can click on it again. What does this show us? So you could be writing it in sentences, or you could just be writing short bullet points. So I think I think that Stone Age people painted pictures on the walls of their cave to show us what they did in their daily lives. During the Paleolithic period, they had an ice age where it was incredibly cold. The climate was really cold. What does this show us? That during the Paleolithic period, what might they have discovered or created? Where did they inhabit? Where did they live? How many can you come up with? Can you come up with one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, about eight things, between six to eight things that you think these pictures tell us about the Paleolithic era? And please don't worry if you're not finished, that's absolutely fine. You can always come back to this. And when you're done, you just press submit, and all of your answers come through to me. I get to review all of your answers. You can go back and edit them as well. Now, as you're listening to this video, your next activity is based on what you will hear in this video. We're only going to watch about 1.5 to 2 minutes of this video because we're only focusing on the Paleolithic period of the Stone Age today. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure that I've got everything set up to share the video with you. And as you're watching, just jot down any key facts that you hear.
The 3 Ages. The Stone Age lasted a long time. Archaeologists and historians divide this time period into 3 ages. The Paleolithic, Old Stone Age, Mesolithic, Middle Stone Age, and the Neolithic, New Stone Age. Paleolithic. This age started when humans began to use stones as tools. They mainly used a type of stone called flint, which could easily be shaped into sharp, pointed tools that didn't go blunt. Bones, antlers, shells, amber, animal teeth, and mammoth ivory were also used to make tools as well as jewellery. During this time, people were nomadic. They moved around from place to place, hunting animals, especially wild horse and red deer, to eat. People lived in caves or temporary shelters, and many cave paintings date back to this time.
After watching the video clip, can we answer these following questions now? So, what was the type of stone used by humans, by early humans, during the Paleolithic period? Was it limestone, flint, or granite? So, from the video clip, what did they tell us? Which type of stone was most often used by humans during the Paleolithic period? So, you just click which one you think it was. Which one did they tell us in the video clip? Now I've had to put a little picture over them because if I didn't, it would tick which one it was. It would give me the answer. Okay. And then once you've submitted that answer, just go to the arrow at the side, go on to the next question. The next question should say, as I haven't got a screen grab of all of them, stone, bone, teeth, amber, etc., were used by the early humans, by Stone Age man, to make tools and weapons. And what else did they make from stone, bone, teeth, ivory, amber, shells? Something that tells us that they cared about the way that they looked. They wanted to look nice. You might also have noticed in the video what they wore as clothes. So the animals that they hunted wouldn't just be for their food. Obviously, they would utilize and use and consume as much of the animal as they possibly could. But then they would skin it. They would use the fur of the animal to keep them warm, wouldn't they? So they would use that as their clothing, and they would also use it over their shelters. They would use it as a rug on the floor of their shelter to make it quite homely. They would use it as like their bedding. They didn't have duvets and pillows. They would use animal fur to keep them warm. So you might have already gone on to the next question. So number 3, the question is, what is the word that we give to the Stone Age people, which means that they moved from place to place? What was the word that we give them? And finally, question 4 of activity 3. Excuse me. Was where did they live Where did these early humans inhabit? Where did they call home? Okay, well done. Just submit those when you are done, and then we are back to the presentation. So, as I've mentioned, we are looking currently at the Stone Age and we are focusing on the Paleolithic era. Now, the Paleolithic era is the earliest era, which began 2.5 million years ago, as you can see from this little timeline, which may inspire you for later doing your own timeline of the Stone Age and prehistory. It spanned over the longest period of time. It ended in 8000 BCE, okay, before the Common Era, when the Mesolithic era began. Sometimes we say period of time, era means the same thing. And the Mesolithic era, I always remember because it's Mesolithic middle. So the Mesolithic era refers to the middle part of the Stone Age. And the Neolithic, again, it's really easy to remember. Neolithic, new. Neolithic era means the newest Stone Age, okay? The most recent Stone Age. So the Paleolithic Stone Age ended in 8000 BCE. The Mesolithic era ended in 4000 BCE. And the Neolithic went then up to 2200 BCE. Okay, so activity 4, QR code is there again if you need it, guys. And if it does do what it was doing to me on my phone and just asking you to put your name in, okay, then pop your name in again or just press enter again and just come back to activity 4. So can you link each period to its definition? So really early on in the lesson, we talked about how would we define prehistory? How do we define it? Prehistory means what? The Paleolithic period of the Stone Age refers to which period of the Stone Age? What do we also call it? What's the Mesolithic period also known as? Or what is it defined as? And what is the Neolithic period of the Stone Age defined as also? So for this one, sorry guys, I keep forgetting to explain these a little bit. So there should be a pencil along the top for you to click on, and you can choose the colour that you want to use. And all we do is link them together. So when you think, right, I know that prehistory is before what? Before any written records, before any recorded history. And we have to rely upon archaeologists to unearth the secrets of the past. So we're going to link up prehistory to the period of history before written records. And you use that pencil, okay, which should come along the top. I don't know if you have to click it, actually, guys. You might have to click it. It should come across the top for you to use. And then that will be submitted. Just checking, I didn't know if I'd gone too far then. Okay, so whenever you see a little a note picture like this one, this is where I just want you to make some little notes. Okay. So, the Stone Age. The Stone Age was the earliest period of human history, starting about 2.5 million years ago. It is called the Stone Age, and you might have figured this out already, because our early humans made tools and weapons from stone. And we also know that the stone that they mainly used was called flint, a type of stone called flint. And why flint was special, and you might be shouting this at the screen to me now, is Stacey, it's because it never went blunt. So they could sharpen it really well, couldn't they? So they'd use another piece of stone, a hammer stone, and they would use some brute force and they would smash bits off of the flint, okay, to give those sharp edges, to make a spear, to make a weapon, to then go hunt bison or wild horse, reindeer. So they would make, and it was called flint knapping that they would do. That's how they would make it, and they'd basically flake off bits of the flint. This era or this period marks the beginning of human culture, survival, and community life. So during this Paleolithic Old Stone Age that we're focusing on this week in our lessons, humans were known as being hunters. So the men would be the hunters and the women would be the gatherers. So the women's role in their tribes or in their communities, in their families, the women would look after the children and they would also go out and gather the berries and the plants that they would need. Okay. The men would hunt in groups together. They lived in caves, and often the caves were formed by the sea, okay, erosion. The water had formed the caves, which then they could take shelter in, okay, or just naturally occurring caves. Or they would make temporary shelters, okay, from from trees and animal skins. And they used simple stone tools and they discovered fire. And they used flint to make fire. So fire was a real game changer for them because fire helped scare away predators. They had fire in their cave. Saber-toothed cats, cave bears wouldn't go in them. Okay, it would scare them away. If before they had fire, they would often find that their caves had been, when they were out hunting, they'd be inhabited by cave bears. Okay, or a saber-toothed cat would find its way into the cave to shelter from the ice age, to shelter from the harsh conditions. So fire was such a game changer because it allowed these early humans of the Paleolithic period to cook food, making it easier to digest and helped them to get more nutrients from the food, from the animals that they had hunted. Fire even lit the way in the darkness, which expanded their usable hours that they could go out and gather and hunt and move. Because remember, they were nomadic. They moved from place to place, and they had to move from place to place to find the herds of animals that they needed to hunt. Once they'd hunted all the animals in one space, in one place, okay, they would move on. So again, make some notes on this. So the tools that they used were really simple: sharpened sticks and stones. Sharpening them because flint didn't go blunt. They would also use obsidian, I believe. And there's another word, quartz, possibly. I may have got that wrong. So Britain at this time in the Paleolithic era was in an ice age. It was extremely cold. So another reason why it was so good that they created fire. They discovered fire, how to make it, to keep their shelters warm, to ward off those predators because it was so cold. So, as we just said, they were nomadic, which meant they travelled from place to place and moved around following the herds of animals in which they would hunt. Okay, so this is your final activity. Okay, and this one is called the Paleolithic problem. So I want you to imagine that you lived in one of these shelters during the Ice Age, during the Paleolithic era. Imagine you lived in either shelter A, shelter B, or shelter C. What problems do you think the early Stone Age man would have faced having had to live in one of these shelters? So, again, on your workbook, here's your QR code if you need it to access the workbook again. Okay. You have a text box in which you can just type in there some of the problems that you think they would have faced. We have kind of spoken about some, touched upon a few problems that they would have faced. Think about the weather. Think about what could enter these shelters, these caves. And you might just want to type them in again in bullet points, in note form, or you might want to write full sentences. It's completely up to you. So you might want to start your sentence with, I think early Stone Age man would face lots of problems having to live in these shelters, such as floods, such as predators getting in them, possibly other tribes occupying their shelter when they were out hunting. What other things might they have faced? What other problems could they have faced? So did you come up with any of these? The shelters might break, they could flood, they may be taken by other tribes or other people. They might not be near any food sources, so they would have to travel quite far to find food sources. And these would not protect them from animals, or animals may seek shelter in them themselves. Did you come up with any others? I'd be intrigued to read your answers and maybe review some of those and talk about some of those that you came up with in next week's lesson. So that's the final activity you're going to do on your workbook. Okay. Now, if you are going to do this unit linked to the AQA accredited awards, today we have focused on the first two parts. Okay, so it says you have, in successfully completing the unit, you as the learner will have shown knowledge of the definition and the timescale of human prehistory, and you will have shown your understanding of that by completing activities 1 and 4 in your workbook. So remember, you can go back to any activity in the workbook and resubmit. Okay, that's absolutely fine. Each week I will add to the workbook, so it will be a complete workbook. Okay, so each week, each lesson, I'll add more activities onto there for you to next week go on and complete activities, maybe 6 to 10. Another 5 activities. There might be a few more. Remember, I'm learning how to use all of these different interactive workbooks and questions and things. And then we've also learned about aspect number 2, so bullet point number 2, the key facts about early humans during the Paleolithic period. Okay, and you have achieved that one by completing activity 2, 3, and 5, but also as an option, what you could do is, let me just move this out of the way a second, to show your understanding of human prehistory even more, okay, then you could make a poster. So at the end of this block of lessons, you will fill out one form where you input all of your evidence if you're wanting to go for the AQA award. Okay. So input everything into that one document that our lovely tech person Alex is sorting out for you currently. And if you do any of these extra things, okay, like a poster, a timeline, maybe just some notes that you want to do, maybe you've gone back into your workbook and you've put lots more detail into your answers. Again, all of this counts, doesn't it? So thinking about, are we showing the knowledge of human history, prehistory covers millions of years. It represents over 99% of human existence. It's defined by the absence, so it's not there. There are no written records of these time periods. It's reconstructed, so we understand human prehistory through material, biological evidence that's been unearthed, dug up, excavated by archaeologists. Okay, and this is where I said earlier that you might want to use this timeline to inspire you to do your own timeline. Okay, and it shows us here. So the period before writing systems emerged. So the human prehistory stops or ends when we had our first writing system. And I think it was the Sumer, wasn't it, in Mesopotamia? And then we had ancient Egypt that had their writing systems of hieroglyphs. Now, I have popped on this slide, if you would like to watch this, there's a really lovely YouTube clip of our early humans, okay, and how they differed from us, Homo sapiens. So you can watch this little YouTube clip by clicking on that QR code just here. I didn't want to put too many video links as we've seen, embedding a video link into it can be a little bit glitchy. So scan that QR code, it will take you to a YouTube clip of early humans. It's really, really interesting. And then for the second, oh, is it going to let me move on? And for the second bullet point, which tells us learning all about the Paleolithic period, the Old Stone Age, okay, would you be able to make a poster? Okay, so these are just some to inspire you. This bit here, I didn't mention this bit. So during the Paleolithic period, Britain was still connected by land to France and Denmark, and that piece of land was called Doggerland. Okay, it wasn't inhabited by dogs. Doggerland connected Britain to France and Denmark to the rest of Europe. However, during the Ice Age, okay, at the end of the Ice Age, it actually sank to the bottom of the ocean, to the bottom of the North Sea. Is that right? I think it is. So then it wasn't there anymore. So they couldn't walk across from Denmark to Britain. During this time period, we see Homo habilis slowly develop into Homo sapiens, which are modern humans. The hunter-gatherer tribes lived off berries, nuts, fish, and wild animals, and some shelter from the cold in the caves that they found on their travels. So you're trying to come up with, trying to tell us and showcase your learning, telling us all about what depicts the Stone Age. What can you tell us about the Stone Age? Okay. What was really important? What were the key facts? What was their shelter? What does the cave art show us in the caves? What were the Ice Age animals like? Okay, woolly rhinoceros, woolly mammoths. The paintings in the caves depicted their daily lives, what they did, maybe their rituals, the mastery of fire helped them to cook their food, to help them to get more nutrients. They moved in small groups together to hunt and gather food. They mastered the art of crafting stone tools. So we know that's why it's called the Stone Age now, don't we? Because they made tools out of stone. So why do you think the Bronze Age and the Iron Age are called the Bronze and Iron Age? What do you think they made their tools out of then? So this is an option, okay? If you would like to, you could make your own timeline to show us the timescale of human prehistory, and you could make your own poster about the Paleolithic period. Those will be two things that you might want to showcase in our final lesson on week 6. Hold them up, talk us through them, show during that lesson, and you may want to use that as part of your evidence if you are going for the accreditation from AQA. Okay, which all of those things will be assessed, that you've shown the knowledge and you've got those things ticked off. Okay, so now it is quiz time. So this is the QR code for the Kahoot. If this doesn't work for you, this QR code, in your workbook, on the last page of your workbook, you have a clickable link at the top. Okay, so if you click on that link, it will take you to the first quiz to apply your learning all about the Paleolithic period. Okay, and there are 12 questions. I think there's 12. Yeah, 12 questions, and it's multiple choice, and you just need to select the correct answer to each of the questions. Okay. Now, when you click on the link, it's not obviously a live quiz, but if you press play solo, I think it says, or solo play, it does tell you on your workbook. So click the link that's below on your workbook, and then it should say on your workbook what to press. I think it's play solo. Once you've clicked that, it will give you the option of what game you would like to play. Okay, so you choose the game mode and have a go. Again, maybe write down your score. Do you score 100%? Do you score 80%? Do you get 10 out of 12? Do you get 8 out of 12? Have a look at the ones that you didn't get, maybe, if there's any that you get incorrect, and write down the correct answers for you to know for next time. Yeah. And then enjoy playing that quiz. And then I will just tell you what we're going to look at next week. We are going to look at the Mesolithic and the Neolithic, so the Middle Stone Age and the New Stone Age. Okay, now to look at the New Stone Age actually isn't in the AQA syllabus. You don't have to have learned about that, but this is obviously linked to it. But I'm doing the whole of the Stone Age, okay, in these lessons. So there will be an activity on it, but that just won't be included if you are going to be assessed to meet that accreditation. Okay, so next week we'll be learning about the Mesolithic part of the Stone Age, the Neolithic part of the Stone Age, and have I put anything else on there? I haven't. So those two next week, that's lesson 2. Just for your reference, lesson 3 will be learning all about the Bronze Age. Lesson 4 will be all about learning about the Iron Age. And then lesson 5 is a bit of a research lesson and learning lesson all about the famous Stone Age ruins of Stonehenge. So possibly before lesson 5, you might want to learn a little bit about Stonehenge. Okay. And that's what your activities will be about. And I am going to touch upon another Paleolithic settlement, which is really close to where I live, called Cresswell Crags. Have any of you ever been there before? So around 10,000 years ago, and maybe longer ago, actually. Maybe I'm thinking, no, it was in the Paleolithic period, so much longer ago. They had settlers in the caves of Cresswell Crags, and they are fascinating. If it's something that really, really interests you, if you look on Cresswell Crags website, you can look at all the different caves that they've got there, and they tell you about what archaeologists have unearthed in those caves. Okay. So thank you very much, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed our first lesson, learning all about what is prehistory, all about the Paleolithic period of the Stone Age. I will see you next week to learn about the Mesolithic and the Neolithic periods of the Stone Age. At the end of your workbook, also after activity 5, once you've done the quiz, there is a little box for you to fill in if you have any questions or anything that you want me to read prior to lesson 2, or anything that you want me to address in that last lesson in week 6 when we have our live lesson together. Okay. Thank you, everybody. See you next week. Bye.